come to you. The numbers keep on rising, and I know we're focusing on them now because they're bigger, it's summer, the channel at times is like a mill pond. What's been remarkable about this evolving story is that come the winter, when the channel gets choppier, they'll still be coming.
They will indeed, as we've pointed out over and over again. At the moment, it looks as if we're going to get something like 50 to 55,000, around that sort of figure by the end of the year. And believe it or not, the Home Office and officials in the Home Office regard this as some sort of success because it's not quite as many as they expected to arrive, which is a nonsense. But I tell you what really depresses me, Colin, and the fact that the two leadership candidates really have firstly come up with nonsensical ideas and nonsensical procedures for cutting it all back. That aside, they're also ignoring immigration, legal immigration, which is fantastic. It's back to record
levels. To be fair to them, everybody's ignoring that.
That's because, dare I say, people are focusing on the channel. It's obvious. Yeah. The optics are there. There we've got people marching up gangways. Of course, that's going to make better pictures. But the fact is, serious as that is, 50, 55,000 in 1 year is a huge number that you've got to look after, you've got to house, you've got to take through the process. But then if you're looking at all those who've come legally as well, what does that do to the demand for housing, for example?
I'm a big fan. I think you've got to be slightly careful about that because I take your point about how pictures tell stories. And obviously, Mark White sat where you are before. He said, we're ignoring the numbers of people who are still being smuggled in lorries. And it's probably a number at least twice as big as those coming across in the boats. But there's obviously a difference, it seems to me, between these people, very often of whom it can be said they're not entering this country in good faith if they're destroying their passports routinely, throwing the mobile over the side, anything that helps us identify them. That's a really bad foot to get off on a relationship with this country. That's qualitatively different from somebody who comes to this country as a legal migrant to work in a sector.
Sure, yeah, and I'm not suggesting that there are people coming in illegally. All I'm saying is that the numbers, if we're talking about numbers, if we're talking about those who need housing, those who need medical attention, we've got to look beyond the channel. Serious though that is, I'm not suggesting that the channel isn't serious because it's going to get even more serious. And that's the problem, that unless we can show that you won't be allowed to stay here, you won't make your way into Britain simply by getting into a boat and being rescued by a British vessel or making it on shore. Until we can show that that won't work, then the numbers will continue to go up and up and up.
And it's hard to know where the upper limit is. We thought we'd got there, and every year, the end of every year, it gets higher. And when you've got some of the population pressures, for instance, in sub-Saharan Africa, 2050, 4 billion people, 4 billion people in sub-Saharan Africa. There'll be by then established routes, migratory routes to the UK and elsewhere. And you've got a diaspora saying, the quality of life here is pretty good. Think about it. So, these numbers will continue to rise inexorably.
Undoubtedly. In fact, there were figures released over the weekend that I saw, it may have been before the weekend, of the numbers getting into the EU. And those coming in illegally are 86% above what they were this time last year. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, a lot of whom, I'm afraid, will make their way to the northern shores of France.